Thank you, Rob, for inviting me, and thank you all of you for being here today. I see a lot of familiar faces, patients, of course, and so it's very nice to be here and share with you a little of my experience. So this is not a typical talk that I will give you of statistics and numbers and outcomes and predictors and things like that. This will be just a personal experience, and I would like you to come with me in this journey from Toronto to the South Pole, and to show you a little bit why we did this, first of all, to tell you about our group, which is the Test Your Limits group, and all the crazy things that we do, and to show you, hopefully, at the end that you don't need to be an athlete to exercise and to have a healthy lifestyle. The Test Your Limits group started years ago, 2005, 2006. And this was an idea of some cardiologists from Montreal and Toronto who decided to bring patients to crazy places in the world and climb mountains and do crazy treks. Try to show people that you can exercise, you can have a healthy lifestyle, and using that as a way to promote organ donation and transplantation. So the group started, and they did a few trips. They climbed a few mountains. They went a couple of years ago to Bolivia, to a mountain, and they did the North Pole by ski. And 2 years ago, Dr. Heather Ross, she's the director of the heart transplant program at Toronto General, she approached me and she said, well, you know what, we did the North Pole, now we need to do the South Pole. I said, okay, good luck, have fun. I said, no, I want you to join me and do the South Pole. So I said, well, give me a few months. That was January or December of 2012, or 11. So I said, I need a few months. I need to talk to my family because this is not, going to Montreal for a ski trip. This is going to the South Pole. So anyway, I put a lot of thought. I spoke to my family, and I convinced them that this is a good cause and it was worth to try. So first of all, I want to disclose, and Rob said something about my CV, and I want to tell you the real CV is that, first of all, I never ski in my life. I come from South America, Argentina, where 20 degrees is cold. I never do camping in my life, never camping in my life, not even in a backyard. And all of a sudden, they are inviting me to go to the South Pole, which is the coolest place in the world, where you have minus 50, minus 60 degrees minus. The worst weather you can imagine, snowstorms and wind that you cannot even stand, and you had to camp on ice. So I thought it was a good idea. A good challenge. I exercised all my life, and I thought I was in good shape until I started training for this, and I realized that I was not in good shape. So that's how I started. March 2012, I decided to join a gym and have a personal trainer. And I usually do martial arts, karate, and I thought that was enough, and I realized that was not enough. So I started training 3 times a week, 4 times a week, doing a lot of cardio and things that all the machines that you can see here, I've been using that for a year and a half. I went to, as I said, personal trainer, and I have a very, very clear program of how to train. But this is part of the story, and I will show you some of the slides of what I did. So I did a cardiopulmonary test, baseline, and then just before I left, I did different measurements of strength in my hands and my legs, and that's when I realized that I was not ready for this trip and that I had to train, and that's what I decided to do. So this was part of my training. You can see some photos there. My basement was transformed into a gym, and you can see that you don't need sophisticated machines to exercise. It's just simple weights, and that was my bag where I kick and a few balls, and I mean that's what I did, and that was what I did at home. You didn't need a big budget to have your own gym. I took every single opportunity to train. So as a physician, I go to conferences. So I was in Quebec, and I use my kids as weights and pull the sled. I climb a few hills with my daughter Sophia on my back. I was in Barrie visiting my in-laws, and I was pulling a tire, a 20-kilo tire, and Sophia, which is probably the same weight. And then Sunnybrook Park, this is around here. So I spent all the summer pulling one tire, and then at the end I was pulling 2 tires of 50 kilos of tires with some resistance. So this seems very simple, but it's nice to train, and it's a different way to train. And those who haven't tried, go with a small tire first, and don't get too crazy because it's a lot of work, believe it or not. Anyway, so that was the training that I started doing. And then in April of 2012, I went to Norway because they have a small island very close to the Arctic. Longyearbyen, that's the name of the island. It's part of Norway, and the weather there is very similar to South or North Pole. So I went there. Amazing place. It's a small island with, I believe there are 2,000 people living there, and they say there are 3,000 polar bears. Everybody wears a gun because polar bears are everywhere. So it's a very, very interesting place. So I went there for a week to train. We met there different people from different parts of the world who were training for different trips. And you can see there, that's what you see, just ice with a few hills, very cold, minus 20, minus 30 degrees. And then this is all the equipment that we were preparing. Everybody had to pull a sled, which is all the food that you had to carry, fuel, your tent, and all the gear. Usually it's between 40 to 50 kilos, so that's what we train. And that was my first experience in camping and training and exercising in ice, and it was not that easy. I thought it was going to be a 1 or 2 hour training, and end up being 6 hours pulling the tire or pulling this sled, doing camping. It was horrible. It was horrible. I thought this is not for me. And but then the 4th day, 5th day, sort of got the taste of a little bit of adrenaline, and said, "Oh, maybe I can do this. I can make it." So I came back to Toronto, and that was April, May, and I said, "Well, I have 6, 7 more months, 8 more months to train." My training was initially trying to strengthen my body, doing weights and interval exercises. That was until October, and then October, November, December, I did more cardio. So I went pulling the tire, running, bicycle, spinning, things that will give me more endurance. And again, these are things that you've been doing probably here. You don't need any crazy places to train and do exercise. So this is, the other thing I want to show you, because I'm not a skier, I told you. So I said, well, it's summer, it's spring, where am I going to ski? So I bought roller skis. I'm sure you are familiar with this, but these are roller skis. So basically you wear a cross-country boots, and you wear this. You use this, 2 of them, and then you do that. So I was on this neighborhood, I believe 5 blocks from here, basically. So I was using this in Leaside. So people were laughing at me, of course, because it's unusual to see this. But it was great because that gave me the opportunity to feel comfortable with the movement of skiing, and I fell, and I have a few scars still. In fact, just around the corner here there is a park, and I put my these things, and I fell 5 minutes after. I have a big scar, so I still remember my first attempt. Anyway, that was part of my gear for the training. So this is what we did. We left from Toronto at the end of December, and from Toronto we went south to Chile. It's a small town called Punta Arenas, and we stayed there for a couple of days. All the team met there. The team was we were 3 cardiologists, me, myself, Dr. Heather Ross, Dr. Michelle White. That was our team of cardiologists, and another person that I will introduce to you later on. His name is Del, and Rob said is a transplant recipient. He is 14 years after a heart transplant. He's 60 years old, and he was a firefighter, and unfortunately he got a virus when he was in his late 40s. He got very sick. At that point, we didn't have mechanical hearts like Mr. Hamilton is using now, so the only option he had is a heart transplant. So he received a heart transplant, and he did very well. He went back to work as a firefighter, and he started doing these crazy trips with Heather Rose and the other team. So that's part of the Test Your Limits group. So once we were in Punta Arenas, we took a plane, a Russian plane. That was more like a cargo plane. I will show you some pictures. We flew from there to Antarctica. Antarctica, basically, we landed in a glacier, Union Glacier. And there we wait a few days until we have good weather conditions. And then we flew from there, from Antarctica, with a very small plane to the degree 89th, which is probably 4 or 5 hours flight. So the distances here doesn't look like, but from the continent to Antarctica is 5 hours, and then you have 4 more hours to the last degree, degree 89. And then what we did, we landed in degree 89, the plane left, and I can tell you that is the worst sensation you can imagine, because that's it. There is no return. And from degree 89 to degree 90, which is the South Pole, we ski for 10 days. And it's just 1 degree, it's 100 miles, but it took us 8 to 10 hours of cross-country ski a day for 10 days to reach the South Pole. So this is the plane when we're in Chile, a plane that was built in 1985, and it's a cargo plane. Here is us going inside the plane. You had to step on this liquid there because they don't want Antarctica to be contaminated with anything, no seeds or anything. So this is the plane. So this is all our luggage there, and then this is the plane. So when you are there, you feel that not very secure. It seems that you are going to die right away. Cables, sound, there is no insulation, so you have to put earplugs, and so it's 5 hours of noise, and you cannot even talk to anybody. So that's how the trip started. Very cold, because it's not prepared, the plane, for human beings. It's just for cargo and bags. Anyway, and then we landed here in Union Glacier. Okay, so this is a glacier where you can see there on that side there are tents. To rent a tent there, you had to pay $500 per night. So we didn't do that. We just were on this side where you just put your own tent. And then you have some meals and things like that there you can eat. So we spent a couple of days there. We practiced a little bit of ski. We practiced how to prepare our tent. So it was a nice way to know each other. It was great. And there you can see those 3 planes. One of those planes, the smallest one, is the one that we took, and they flew us to the degree 89. And you may have heard that on January 8, 9, 10 maybe, of this year, one of the planes crashed. Well, it was one of those planes. In fact, we were having dinner with the pilots the night before we left, and it was crazy because we're having dinner with these guys, 3 Canadian pilots, and we took the plane to leave Antarctica just before the storm was coming. Otherwise, we could have stayed there forever. So we left, and I think an hour, 2 or 3 hours later, that small plane left because it had to bring some stuff to one of the bases there, and they were lost, and they couldn't find them. So of course we didn't know. This is at the end of the trip, but we didn't know what happened, because when we came back, I went to Argentina to visit my family, and then I flew to Toronto. When I came, I started receiving messages, are you alive, are you alive? And it was exactly different hours, a few hours of difference. So that was a tragic thing that, in fact, we were very lucky, very lucky. So this is the Antarctica. So Antarctica is a beautiful continent. It's just ice, beautiful mountains. The wind is incredible, so strong, and the clouds, I think I will have pictures at the end. You can, every second you have different shapes of clouds, and everything seems that goes to one direction. It's amazing. Antarctica at this time of the year in January is summer, so it's -10, -15, -20. In the winter it goes to -60, -70. And of course you have midnight sun, so it's all day sun. So the sun is like 45 degrees. It turns, it turns, it turns, it turns. Which is nice at the beginning, but I can tell you after a few days you get crazy because you cannot sleep. You had to, it's all day, you had to put sunblock at 3 in the morning to go out of your tent. So this is our luggage, our gear, that's mine there. So it's 50 kilos of stuff, plus the fuel, plus food, and your tent. So it's heavy, even though you pull it on ice, but it's still heavy. So that's when we landed there. That's what I was pulling. Those were our tents, you can see there. So these are the day before we were preparing things to leave. And this is our team. You can see there Heather Ross, that's myself, that's Michelle White, that's Del Shipan, and that's Michelle White. So that's the Test Your Limits team. And those are the jackets that we're wearing that I brought it here. So this is our jacket. If you want at the end, sorry? No, it's not. This is a Canadian company, which is, the quality is, I will say, superior. The name is Outdoor Survival, and they donated this for us. They were amazing. So if you want to try it at the end, it's very heavy, very heavy. And honestly, if you put it down, you probably start sweating in a minute. It's so heavy. But it's a nice jacket because, as you can see, it's all designed for us. So all the things that we needed to have in case of emergency, pockets, multiple pockets to have different gloves and hats in case they get wet. Here we put our names in case we died and they had to find us in 100 years, so they know the name. Pockets here to put, satellite phones. So it's a amazing jacket that it was just built for us. It was exposed at Eaton Center, I think, Hall Renfrew for a few months after we came back, because it's a special design. And now I can show you more. I have these were my boots. Yeah, exactly. Well, they said that the South Pole is very similar, like the moon. The surface is very similar. So these are our boots. Again, you can try that at the end if you want. Very, very heavy, like probably 3 kilos, 6 pounds, very heavy. These are boots that you wear in temperatures up to 100 degrees, minus 100 degrees. It had to be exactly your size, a little bit more, not too long, because otherwise your foot start moving like this, and you can. I mean, it took us a while to find the right size and things, because if you have a blister in the South Pole, it could be a disaster. And then these are some of the gloves that we were wearing there. We had to wear 3 pairs of gloves, otherwise you died. It's so cold, and it's very interesting I was not, again, I told you at the beginning, I never done something so extreme like this, so I learned a lot about myself physically and mentally, but physically it's very interesting because, I remember telling my mother telling me, or me telling my son, you had to eat, you had to sleep, you had to drink water. We keep saying that, and it's so true, because when you are in extreme conditions, if you don't those 3 basic things, you suffer. You really suffer. If you don't drink a liter every hour, every 2 hours, you get dizzy, very dizzy. Despite the temperature, which is -50, we're skiing at -50, we were not wearing a lot of clothing. I mean, this one was too hot. So we're maybe 2 or 3 layers, another raincoat or things for the wind, but not more than that, because otherwise you start burning, and you get very dehydrated. So a lot of water. I ate so much in the South Pole. I ate probably 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day, and I lost 5 kilos in 10 days. I don't recommend that diet, by the way. It's a little bit extreme, but I ate a lot and not very healthy food. Please, you can edit this part. Because unfortunately, I mean, you need to eat fat. It's the only way you can get calories. So mornings, breakfast was disgusting. It was just eggs, bacon, salami. And then during the day, you eat power bars like crazy, like 400 calories, 300 calories of power bars every hour. And then you finish the day exhausted despite eating and drinking. And you had to eat something hot, coffee, you have a soup, and then pasta, again, fat. But it makes a huge difference. The first few days, and I will tell you this story because maybe now when I show you this. So this is other teams that join us in this. So we're 14 from different parts of the world, Russia, UK, US. And it was very interesting for me because when the day we were preparing for this, we're all around the table having a beer. I said, okay, well, let's share stories. I said, well, last month when I did Everest was terrible. It was terrible, the weather conditions. Oh, North Pole was amazing. Oh, yes, I remember the North Pole. Yes. It was my turn. I said, oh my gosh, I don't know. I was pulling the tire in Sunnybrook Park. And I was dying. I said, oh, great. Okay. So yes, all these people, they did all the crazy things you can imagine. The adventures that they've done, amazing. Just to tell you one story, one of these guys here, let me see if I find him. Oh, the one back at the end, you can even see his face. Let me see. So this guy here, okay, he is 69 years old, a school teacher. And he decided when he was 55, I think, 55, he said, you know what, I want to do something with my son because, just to bond and be friends, whatever. 55, right? So he started climbing mountains with his son. And this guy, at 69, now 70, he did the 7 summits, so the tallest mountains in the world. He did the North Pole last year, and he completed the South Pole this year at 70 years old. At 68, he did Everest. So you can hear this story and say, you know what, there are no excuses. Honestly, if you are healthy, if you do the right thing, and if you don't exercise, at least minimum. I'm not saying that you need to do this for living, but there are no excuses because these people, they transmit that energy that you can exercise, you can have a healthy lifestyle, no matter how old you are. No, there are no excuses. And really, that's a nice message from some of these people. That's me when I was happy. And this is the plane, another Canadian plane. So these planes, they are in Edmonton during the summer, and then they fly to the South Pole every year to do this work for 3 months, and then they come back to Edmonton. Crazy. So this is the plane. They left us there. This is where the South Pole Plateau starts. The Antarctica is at sea level, so that's easy. It's cold, but you don't feel anything else. Here is 2,700 meters, so it's like 9,000 feet probably. So you feel, it's heavy, it's headaches, oxygen doesn't go well, so it is not that easy. So that's how we started. And this is the South Pole Plateau. Okay, this is the first degree. degree 89, where we started. So the plane left, and we were just seeing the moon, basically. That's it. There's nothing else but this. And there is no return. If you get sick or something, you have to pay $100,000 for that plane to pick you up. So we said, okay, let's do it. Anyway, one of the things I experienced the first time, because again, I'm not a skier, so I put on my skiers that someone gave me and prepared for me. And after half an hour of ski, I was going to die. I was going to die. For some reason, I couldn't go forward. I was like sweating. I was dizzy, short of breath. So anyway, I didn't want to say anything because we just started. I said, maybe just I need to acclimatize to this, and I don't want to, the rest of the team think that I cannot do that, even though they were all thinking that I couldn't do it. An hour, the first day we just ski for 3 hours just to get used to, and the first hour I stopped, and I remember calling Heather Ross. For those who know, he's the director of the program, a good friend of mine, and I tell her, I cannot do this. Is something wrong? And she said, oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on. I don't know, but try to ski this. So she was giving me instructions in the second hour how to ski and how to move, and I couldn't do it. So second hour, halfway, I said, guys, I cannot do this. And the sensation of seeing this, and the 13 people like 1 kilometer in front of you, and I was the last one trying to do this, and I said, no, this is not good. So finally, some of the guides, there were 3 guides with us, came and said, well, I will pull your sled and see if that helps you. Maybe, okay, great. So he was pulling my sled, and I started skiing again, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't. So Heather came, and she measured my oxygen levels, but probably you do it here, and it was 78. And I said, well, that's it. No, everybody has 78. No, everybody has 70 or 80. So this is normal for now, for the first day. I said, well, okay, well, let's try. So I keep trying, and honestly, I was going to pass out. Of course, it was a combination of things. I didn't eat well, I didn't drink well, and of course, I was not skiing well. Anyway, at the end of the 3rd hour, this guy comes, senior guide, and said, okay, let's try to put the right ski on the left and the left on the right. And that was a problem. Yes, because whoever put yes, exactly, they were on the wrong position. So I was skiing with my legs open. So, of course, this is snow. So I was skiing and sinking and then pulling back up and then seeing and that. And of course, that makes you use other muscles, your arms. So I was doing this. And I couldn't figure it out. I think, well, I'm a bad skier, and that's the way it is. Anyway, as soon as I switched my skis, it was like air. I was like, I could breathe. It was amazing. So the first day, I was dead, basically, at the end of the 3rd hour, 4 hours. But at least I knew that I was not my training, but it was just not knowing how to put my skis on. So this is the tent. That's Del Shipan and Michelle White. We shared the tent for those 10 days. And I can tell you that it was the most exhausting thing at the end of the day, when you are so tired and so cold, to spend an hour building this tent. It was horrible. You barely can move an arm, and you had to do it because it's so cold that you had to go inside, start cooking, and drink coffee or something. So that was probably the end. The last hour was the most challenging part of the trip. And then prepare all the fuel and prepare all the things to put inside. So these are photos of the different tents. We have 5 tents. And this is how I prepare the fuel. And this is inside our tent. The tent, amazingly, very hot, because of course you are breathing inside and then you are cooking. So there were a couple of nights that I was sleeping on top of my sleeping bag in underwear. It was so hot. And the funny thing is that because the sun goes like that and the tent is here, if you were sleeping on this side of the tent and the sun was here, you were boiling and sweating. So then you take everything off. And then the sun goes on the other side and you are shaking. So you had to put everything on, go inside, and the other guy was naked. So we were like, it was like a torture. Of course, at the end of the trip, we were so tired that we just didn't care, and we did it. But it was just changing clothing and inside the bag, outside, and yeah. So this is what we're eating. This is some of the you've seen that if you go to Mountain Cove, those places, you can have those bags of garbage food. It's like you can't even see it, but when you put hot water, the taste is something similar to food. So this was lasagna, which was my favorite, but at least give you like I think 800 calories with that, and coffee and chocolate. And this is what you see, the sun. That's the sun that goes like this, and goes like this, and goes like this, and goes like this. So I will show you some of the gear. I didn't bring it here, but you have to be all protected, of course. It's minus 50 or more, and the wind. So you cannot have even a centimeter of skin because it burns in 5 minutes. One of the people who were with us has a very bad burn here in his face, and it was nasty. It was very bad. Another guy on our team has blindness in both eyes. So it took like 5 days to recover one of the eyes, and the other one didn't before we left. And then another expedition, one guy lost 2 fingers. And the problem is that when you ski, you start heating up all your chest, your core, and then of course goes into your arms and your feet, and you go and you feel great, and you start taking off. You had to take off your clothes and ski. As soon as you stop, all the heat goes to the core, and you start feeling the cold in your arms, and you feel that it's burning of cold. And that's when the problem, you have to put gloves and cover, try to keep your heat on, and eat power bars and drink. And you have 15 minutes of a break, and then you take off all your clothes, you get again, and then it's so cold that you need to start skiing. And it takes sometimes 10, 15 minutes to start feeling your hands again. So when I came to the continent, after 3 days, I still didn't have sensitivity in my fingertips, because that changes in the temperature. It makes you feel those things. So this is how, the typical gear. So the mask, and then the goggles and hats. So everything had to be very, very well covered. It was sometimes I was, and I think the rest of the team were so tired and so. Your head works a lot when you are 8 hours or 10 hours by yourself skiing under these conditions, and you cannot talk to anybody because everybody is going behind the other one. You get a little bit crazy. You start thinking, crazy things, and you get emotional and you laugh. And it's a very interesting experience for those who use BlackBerry, like me, and we are addicts. Imagine without a BlackBerry for a month. You get crazy just because of that. So here you were isolated from the planet. You don't know what happens with your family, with your friends, with the world. We didn't know anything. So of course your head works and works and works. And of course, the first thing my kids. I had 2 small kids, and I was thinking of them. And sometimes you get emotional, and I was crying. But then you cannot even cry, because you cry and your tears turn into ice. So I was crying, and my eyes was, and then you cannot take your goggles off because you freeze. So I said, I can't even cry here. It was crazy. Anyway, so that's me. You see my legs are open like that. That was the first day that I was, with wrong skis, and anyway. So that's camping there. I was counting the days like I was in jail, 1, 2, 3, 5. That's day 5. Yeah. This is a nice photo of so this is our camping. And maybe I have another photo, but this one, you can see there that it's white, and then the sky is cloudy. There were a couple of days that it was very cloudy. It's all white. The sky was totally white. If you're ski or you go to some place, maybe you can see that, but for me it was the first experience to see everything white. And so it's very difficult because you don't have a point of reference to ski to first. So if you are at the back of the line, which was my case during the whole trip, you can see that people are going in that direction, and then they go like that, and then left, and you say, why are you doing that? And it's because they didn't know. They were trying to find a small mountain and go there, and then go there, and then with the GPS, you don't have the sun to see the shade, so the shadow. So it was very. So those days were impossible because we were skiing for 10 hours, and we were not advancing. We were just doing zigzag like this. But one of the things is that, of course, when you are in the line, if you want to pee, you had to leave the line with your skis and do it. And of course, when you turn, you don't have a reference, which is the guy in front of you. And many times I fell. You just fall because it's like being in a cabin, a white place that you don't have anything. So it's very interesting how your brain, you change because you don't see where you're going or where you are. So these are different. This is Del Shippen, and you see he's not fat. It's just that he has all his anti-rejection medication there. So he had to put a special container, and of course they can't be in the sled because it got frozen everything. So it had to be inside with body temperature. So he was wearing his pills, all the anti-rejection. Of course, he cannot stop his anti-rejection, otherwise he will be dead. So he had to take care of all these details. So that's Dale. That's me at the end of one of the days there. And this is the day, one of the days that is everything white, as I told you. So that's what you were seeing. And this is one of the breaks. So you wait there, you wait for everybody to be together, you drink, you eat, and then you go again. And this is just when we're reaching the South Pole. So there's a visitor center, and that's the base. The base in the South Pole is a U.S. base that's been there for more than 60, 70 years. It's an amazing place. It's a city basically. They have 130 people living there all year. They go there for 1 or 2 years, and they do science, research, and they have inside everything. They have a hospital, they have a gym, they have a music band, they have, it's a real city, works like a city. They have psychologists, of course, because you get crazy there for 2 years, isolated from the world, darkness for 4 months or 6 months at -80. So they have assessments of psychiatrists and psychologists there. But they live isolated. They don't get any postcards, nothing, maybe once a year. Emails when the satellite goes by, so it's not every day. So it's a very interesting life, how they live there. Yeah. And this is they call the ceremonial South Pole. So that's the pole, and these are the flags that the countries that are part of the Antarctic Treaty. And that's where everybody takes the picture. That's what they call this the ceremonial South Pole, but it's not the real South Pole. I think I have a picture. So the geographic South Pole, the 90 degrees, is 1 or 2 blocks from here. I may have a picture of that. And that, because of the ice cape shift, the geographic South Pole moves every year a few meters. So every year they have a different pole that is moving. So this is me and Dale. And this is the team taking a picture with the ceremonial South Pole there. Pole. That's Heather Ross, the director of the program. Some of you know her and me. And this is the geographic South Pole. So this is exactly 90 degrees south. And this is us, the first heart transplant patient and team reaching the South Pole by ski. And of course with the Canadian flag, why not? And of course with my flag, why not? Yeah. And of course with my kids, they were there as well. It's funny because I took my soccer jersey from Argentina. I take it with me every time I go to a place. I don't know why, I've done it all my life. So when I have an opportunity to play soccer, I put it on. So just as a joke, I took it and I put it close to the Argentinian flag there. I put it there and I took a picture. When I came back, I sent it to a friend of mine who is the medical director of this team in Argentina. And he sent it to the public relations people. Anyway, that picture is everywhere on internet now. If you put Boca Juniors Antarctica, Boca Juniors is the team, is everywhere. They call me from every single radio station in the world, sport magazines. And it was a great opportunity to talk about organ donation and transplant. So it flew like crazy. Now, if you put Dr. Delgado on internet, it's nothing about my research. It's just about that stupid flag and my jersey. So anyway. And this is the message we wanted to put there via donor.ca. So try to promote organ donation and transplant, and to ask people to donate to sign the donor organ card. So this was a great experience for us, for me, as be a witness of seeing the first heart transplant recipient reaching the South Pole, and all the challenges that we went through, and all the training for 1 year. It's an amazing personal experience for someone who never done that, and I don't think I will ever do this something again like this. But and at the end, put that message there. That's exactly what we wanted. Of course, during this trip, we did a lot of fundraising events, galas, and we made $500,000 for the hospital. So that money it went to the Toronto General to, for example, pay and support our mechanical assist device program. So most of the money went for the mechanical assist program to train fellows all over the world to come to our center and do research in different areas. So testyourlimits.ca is our website. I'm not telling you about this trip, but you will learn more about the next trip, which is probably next year. And this is the team. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention.